Hey, what's up, movie people? I hope you're doing well. Today we're going to do another tier list. This one's going to be the DCEU movies, all the way from Man of Steel to Shazam: Fury of the Gods. We're doing this before The Flash comes out because The Flash is supposed to reset all of this. But before we get started, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel. It helps out a lot. We're on the road to 100 subscribers, so I'm really appreciating it all right now. But make sure you like, subscribe. Let's get right into the tier list. Alright, to start off the tier list, we got Man of Steel. So, Man of Steel is directed by Zack Snyder. I like a couple of Zack Snyder's films because his style, works with me a lot. But I'm not a big fan of his Superman adaptation, who he makes Superman out to be. And his father's death in this movie is just so stupid, in my opinion. It's just such a dumb death. But I feel like the third act is actually really good, has a lot of good fight scenes in it, but I feel like the first act just drags, in my opinion, a lot. So I'm going to put Man of Steel at C for now. Zack Snyder's Justice League, though, I think this is a brilliant movie by him. I think that he really did a lot for this movie when it comes to making it, but sadly he did have to leave because the death of his daughter, and Joss Whedon had to take over and make Justice League, which is just one of the worst superhero movies of all time. But Zack Snyder's Justice League, being 4 hours, had all the plot in it that you needed, all the character introductions and arcs that you needed, and I think it all worked out really great for that movie. And that came out like 2021, and I was just so excited for that movie, and it all paid off really well. There was even a tease for Darkseid, which I would have loved to see. I just wish that we would have gotten this version when the original Justice League came out in 2017, but it's still a fantastic movie, so that's going to go in A tier. And I'm actually going to go straight over to Justice League by Joss Whedon, known as Justice League. I'm going to say this is just a big punch in the face to Zack Snyder, and it's so disrespectful to DC and to movie fans in general. It just does nothing for the characters, and the CGI mustache on Henry Cavill's just so stupid and it's so noticeable. And you can see how all the actors and even Gal Gadot had a hard time filming this because of how much of a creep Joss Whedon was during the whole filming process. And I just feel bad for Ben Affleck too, because he was just ruined as Batman after this movie. So with that said, it's going to go in F tier. And next up, we got Black Adam. So Black Adam's an interesting one. Dwayne Johnson really took this movie over and made it his thing. He's kind of an ego guy sometimes, even though I love Dwayne Johnson, but he just made this movie all about him. And I feel like he wasn't even the best part of it. The best part of it was the Justice Society, and Black Adam's Black Adam and The Rock being him just didn't work at all, because The Rock just plays The Rock, and he cannot act outside of that, and I feel like him as Black Adam was just so dumb. And who gave him this permission? Because Black Adam does not deserve his own movie. I don't think so at all. He deserves to be a secondary character in a Shazam movie because he's a Shazam villain. And this movie is just humor, what did not work at all. And there was a side plot of a mother and son, which were just two of the worst characters in the movie. I just hated them so much. I could not stand this movie at all, and it was like 2 hours, but it felt so much longer. So with that said, I'm going to put Black Adam in D tier. Next up, we got Peacemaker. This is also from James Gunn. He directed most of them, I'm pretty sure, and I think he wrote all the episodes. I'm not too sure on that one. But Peacemaker is actually a really amazing and brilliant show, in my opinion, because John Cena is actually amazing as Peacemaker. When I first saw him in The Suicide Squad, I thought he was just awesome in that show. And all the side characters really do work well in this show. And the villain, I forgot his name, but he's going to be the villain in Guardians 3. He's also really cool in this. There's a lot of really cool elements in here. Vigilantes in this show, which is awesome. I feel like it's just a great superhero and a great comedy TV show for HBO. So with that said, I'm going to put Peacemaker in A tier. Next up, we got Shazam. That looks like it's the first Shazam. So the first Shazam is actually a great DC movie. It has a lot of laughs in it, and I think Zachary Levi does an amazing job with this movie. So does Asher Angel. And I feel like also there's a lot of action in that movie, and I feel like it all works so well. And there's a lot of CGI in it, but I feel like the CGI looks awesome. My only gripe with this movie is that the costumes look kind of cheap and plasticky, but I feel like I could just throw that out the window, so I'm just going to put Shazam in B tier. Next up, I think that's the first Wonder Woman. The first Wonder Woman is actually a really good film in my opinion, because we have Chris Pratt in there, Gal Gadot is in there too, and I'll get to Gal Gadot in a minute, but I feel like Gal Gadot does actually really good in the first Wonder Woman, and Patty Jenkins did an awesome job directing this movie. Chris Pine was awesome in it, and I really did like it being set back in the old days to see what all of this was about and her like becoming Wonder Woman as an origin story. That's really cool in my eyes. And I feel like the only thing that didn't work too much for me was the villain of the movie. I don't even hardly remember the villain in this one, but I think all the action is really awesome. So I'm going to put Wonder Woman in B tier. Next up is Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey. I don't really have a lot of thoughts about this one because I hardly even remember it. I do know that Margot Robbie is just amazing Harley Quinn though, and Ewan McGregor did play the villain in this movie, but I feel like the villain was just really underdeveloped, and I think the whole movie as a whole was really underdeveloped because I just don't think this should have been actually a movie. I think this may have worked on the small screen better, but I do find it enjoyable because Margot Robbie's in it and she's just amazing, as I said, but the side characters just aren't up to standard of what DC can be side character wise. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in C tier. The Suicide Squad is probably one of my favorite DC movies overall. This one hits all the boxes for me. It's directed by James Gunn. He introduced Peacemaker in this one. Idris Elba's in this one. Harley Quinn, King Shark is just amazing in this movie. I saw this one during COVID times with my friend, and it was an awesome experience because no one knew what to expect from this one. And it had drama, comedy, action, and even like sad moments in it because King Shark. But it just had everything in it that you would have wanted. And Starro is in this movie as the villain. It's just perfect. The whole movie is just so cool in my opinion. So that's going to take S tier. Batman v Superman's next. I actually just rewatched this movie not too long ago, directed by Zack Snyder, and it just didn't land as much as it did when I first watched it. Because on this rewatch, I can just notice how I just don't like Zack Snyder's Superman really at all. And I mean, Henry Cavill's fine because he's being what Zack Snyder wants him to do, but I just think Superman should have much more emotion than he does in this movie. I know it's like such a dark movie because of the tone and like what's happening in it, but I feel like there could just be more happiness in this movie. It's just also dark. Ben Affleck is actually a pretty good Batman in my opinion. I just do not like his suit. His suit is just way too bulky in my opinion. It does not need to be that bulky and big. But Ben Affleck though did pretty good. And I feel like Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, I think he works pretty well. I think he goes a little over the top sometimes, but he works a decent bit. And I feel like the trailers for this movie did not do it justice because it spoiled like half of the things in the movie. And I feel like this movie is way too long in my opinion. So with that said, I think I'm going to put Batman v Superman in C. Next up, we got Wonder Woman 1984. This came out at like peak COVID times, peak COVID. And I feel like this movie, the more I think about it, it's such a disgrace to Wonder Woman as a character because there's so many cringy scenes in this. It's just so laughable. Pedro Pascal plays the villain, and he does his best, but the villain is just so stupid. It's such a dumb movie. And I just feel like it just doesn't work at all. And this is the movie where I saw Gal Gadot. She is not a good actor in this movie. I don't know what she was talking about in this movie because her acting in this movie was not good. And it just made me think, wow, I want a different person to play Wonder Woman. And I don't know, Patty Jenkins directing this movie was way off too. It's such a slow burn of a movie and so many dumb things happening and it's so hard to explain, but I'm going to put it in D tier. Next up, we got Suicide Squad. I I forget who directed this one, but this is the first one that was not perceived well by critics or audiences, because supposedly a lot of stuff was messed with this one, just like Justice League. But the most I can remember from this movie was that Harley Quinn and Rick Flag were the best parts. Other than that, I cannot remember much more about this movie. It's such a disgrace. I mean, Will Smith is good as Deadshot in it, but overall, it's a really bland movie with not much in there. So with that said, I'm going to also put that movie in D tier. Aquaman next. I think Aquaman's a pretty fun movie. I'm happy it's actually the only DCEU movie to make $1 billion, which is pretty surprising, to be honest with you. But I'm happy it did, and I feel like it's a really fun movie with some gorgeous visual effects. And Jason Momoa is a pretty good Aquaman. And I do like all the action in this movie underwater. I feel like that's all cool. And all the underwater scenes are very, very well lit, which is awesome. So with that said, I think I'm going to put Aquaman in B tier, surprisingly. Shazam! Fury of the Gods is next. That's the last DC movie we have until The Flash. I think Shazam! Fury of the Gods is a fun movie. It's a fun movie. It's okay in my opinion. I feel like the Skittles product placement really just dampers on the movie for me, because whenever I think about that movie, that's all I think about is the dumb Skittles scenes in the end. It just made me just so mad, and Lucy Liu does not pull in a good performance here, in my opinion. Rachel Zegler really does help this movie, and Zachary Levi's ego really got to this movie as well. I don't know what he's thinking while marketing this one, but overall, it's a fun movie. It is a little long in the back end of it, but I do feel like the fight scenes are pretty cool, and the costumes really did level up here. I really enjoyed the costumes, and it's funny because Shazam, Zachary Levi's character, is not even my favorite of the Shazam family. It's Mary. She's just way funnier and way better. So with that said, I'm going to put Shazam! Fury of the Gods in C tier. Now it's time for the final ranking. F, we just have Justice League. D tier, we got Wonder Woman 1984, Suicide Squad, Black Adam. I'm going to go ahead and put Black Adam in the middle and keep Wonder Woman 1984 at the bottom. C tier. I'm going to go ahead and move Shazam! Fury of the Gods up below Man of Steel and put Batman v Superman above Birds of Prey. B tier, I'm actually going to keep B tier as it is. I think that just works perfectly. A tier, I'm going to go ahead and put, I'm going to actually keep that how it is too. I think Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League is a better put together piece of entertainment more than Peacemaker. And S tier is the Suicide Squad, the greatest DCEU movie there is, in my opinion. So that's the DCEU tier list before The Flash comes out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.